Hey guys, it's Keeley, and today I'm going to do another recent reads video for you. I've been reading a lot of books in June, so I'm really glad that I decided to do recent read videos instead of monthly wrap-ups, just because the monthly wrap-ups would be so long at this point. This way, the videos are shorter and I can talk longer about books, so it won't be like a million years long. But I'm going to talk about the next 5 books that I've read since my last recent reads video, so let's get into it. The first book I have to talk about is Leaven Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch, and this follows a girl named Lena whose mother is sick and ends up dying, and at the end of her mother's life, she starts telling Lena about these stories of her time in Italy and her friend named Howard. Lena has never heard about this guy named Howard, but suddenly her mom says, "When I die, I want you to move to Italy with Howard." Which is strange because Lena has no idea who this Howard guy is, so basically she just has to move in with a complete stranger in a completely different country, which is just crazy. As soon as she gets there, she gets this journal that was her mom's, and as she's reading it, all of these mysteries start arising, and so she kind of just has to figure out who Howard is, like what was his relationship with her mother, and why she's there basically. Along the way, she meets some friends. One of them is named Ren, and he is so sweet and just adorable and like dorky, and I just really liked Ren a lot. I will say some critiques about this. I am usually not opposed to insta-love, but this book just did it in such a way that I wasn't a huge fan of. The course of this book takes place over like a few weeks, and I really wish that it was an entire summer in Italy, but I will say I really loved the character of Howard. He was my favorite. I just loved Howard so much. He was so kind and genuine and just such a great guy and took such great care of Lena. I just loved him, and I did like the whole, it wasn't really a mystery, but I like the whole, we don't know what the connections are in this story, and like the adventure she goes on to kind of unravel that was really fun. I love the premise a lot, but like I said, the insta-love kind of rubbed me the wrong way, which is very unusual for me, but I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I have here is 36 Questions That Changed My Mind About You by Vicki Grant. This book, the premise was very interesting to me. So it's about this psychological study that was done a few years ago based on 36 questions to make people fall in love with each other. So basically in this study, you and a partner ask each other these 36 intimate questions, and at the end you stare into each other's eyes for 4 minutes and see if you fall in love. I was a psychology major, so I was very interested in a book about that study. So this follows 2 very different characters who show up for this study and end up being partnered together. One of them is there because she's very interested in psychology and she's like, why not? The other is there just to get paid the $40 that you get paid to do the study. They're super different characters, raised differently and just going through different things in their life, and they get paired together, and it's pretty much a disaster in the beginning, and the girl gets mad and she ends up like storming off. So they end up finding each other again because they really want to finish the study. He wants to finish it for the $40, and she's just like, might as well. He's making this effort, so why not? And so they end up doing the study together through like in person, over IM chat, just like things like that, and it's really cute, but it is very short, so it's not very in depth. I really would have loved a longer story on this just to get to know the characters more. There were some really great plot points in this, and like I said, the premise of the story is so interesting because I love this study very much. But yeah, it was an interesting premise, but it was kind of a miss for me. I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars, but I will say that even though I wasn't super into it, I just like wanted to know how it ended, and I find myself keeping reading it because I was just like, I want to know how it ends. I will say I didn't enjoy the characters as much. It just kind of fell flat, but the premise was very interesting. The next book I read was When Dimple Met Richie by Sandhya Menon. I was so excited to read this because it's very hyped. This follows 2 Indian teenagers, which I had never read about, so I was really excited to read characters that were immersed in the Indian culture just because that's something completely new for me. So it follows Dimple and Richie, and Dimple is super focused on her future career and she's not into her culture at all. So this summer there's this huge computer program going on in California, and she just really wants to go because it'll help her career and help her when she is in college and everything like that. And she's super focused, and her parents let her go, Richie, on the other hand, is super into his culture and is totally on board with the idea of an arranged marriage. And so his parents are friends with Dimple's parents, and their parents decide to put them in this arranged marriage and see if they will meet and like each other. So Richie's parents send him to this same computer program over the summer to get to know Dimple. But Dimple's parents didn't tell her that this was their plan. So, as you can imagine, when she finds out, when Richie shows up and is like, I'm your husband, what up? She's a little angry and kind of frustrated because she thought her parents were finally coming around to the idea of her wanting this career. So yeah, basically it's just that they're on two different sides in their culture. Like, one's super for it, one's not really for it, kind of against it really. And so they end up at this program and their relationship kind of advances over the next 6 weeks. I will say, once again, something about insta-love in the books I've been reading lately have been rubbing me the wrong way. I'm usually not opposed to insta-love, but again, in this one, it was just way too soon for me, and it just really kind of frustrated me. It was just so quick and just so soon and rushed, and I understand that it took place over 6 weeks, but it happened like just so quick. It just felt like way quicker than that, and so I couldn't really get on board with that. I also did not like Dimple as a character. She was just really frustrating to me and just kind of mean. Like, I kind of see where she's coming from though, just because her parents set her up in this situation that she didn't want to be in, so I totally get it, but I just didn't really like her. I loved Richie, on the other hand. He was really sweet and nerdy and just great, and I loved him, but I ended up giving this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Lola and the Boy Next Door by Stephanie Perkins. This is the second book in the Anna and the French Kiss companion trilogy thing that's going on, and I was so excited that I finally got to read the second one because I loved the first one so much. So this one follows a girl named Lola who's super eccentric and just super out there and loves designing her own clothes, and 2 years ago she was in love with this boy who broke her heart and hurt her, and him and his twin moved away, and she hasn't heard from them or seen them since. One day somebody moves in next door and the Bell twins have returned, and it's just this catastrophic event in her life because when she saw them 2 years ago, her life basically ended. And so it's just them kind of reconnecting and figuring out what happened 2 years ago and just kind of building this relationship back up. I will say that I did not enjoy this as much as Anna and the French Kiss. I still really enjoyed it. I loved Cricket. He was really sweet. Lola was not my favorite. I didn't dislike her, but I wasn't like the biggest fan of her. But yeah, I'm really, really glad that Anna and Etienne were in this book from Anna and the French Kiss because they are my favorite and I love them so much, and it was really cool to see how their relationship has progressed since Anna and the French Kiss. So I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. And finally, the last book I have to talk about is Isla and the Happily Ever After by Stephanie Perkins. This is the third book in that companion trilogy, and oh my goodness, I love this one so much. This follows two characters that we have seen previously in the other books, Josh and Isla, and Isla has been in love with Josh since she has been in school at their school in Paris. No big deal, but basically for like 3 or 4 years she's been in love with this guy named Josh and just hasn't really talked to him, but she lives in Manhattan and so does he, and over the summer she ends up going into this cafe and sees that he's there, and they end up striking up this conversation, and the next day afterwards she's like, oh my gosh, did that really happen? And they don't talk the rest of the summer. She doesn't see him, there's no correspondence, and so when she gets back to school she's kind of like, did that night actually happen? Did we actually flirt, have a conversation? Are we friends? So she doesn't really know how to act around him. So the relationship starts building when they get back to school, and you kind of know where this is going because it's a Stephanie Perkins book, but I just loved it so much, and we got to see all the characters, and I will say this was a 4-star book for me until the very last chapter when we got to see everyone and like see all of the relationships and all of the things. So I did end up giving it 5 out of 5 stars just because the ending was so great. I will say Anna and the French Kiss is definitely my favorite out of all 3 of these. I really, really liked Isla. Josh was like, sometimes I liked him, sometimes I didn't. He wasn't my favorite, but it's not like I disliked him, he just wasn't my favorite. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed this one, give it 5 out of 5 stars, and I would say it's my second favorite in the trilogy. So these are the last 5 books that I've read. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!